Hello and welcome to Pete's Shed. Today, as you can see from the title of the video, I'm going to be making a giant buzzer game. It's just for a bit of fun and hopefully it's made out of easily sourced materials. I've got some copper tube here, 10mm, some soldering gear and some other bits and pieces just to bend the tube and cut the tube. I've also got some electrical components to make a buzzer circuit, and if I'm daring enough I might even add an LED strip to it to light up at the same time that it buzzes. So without further ado, I'm going to try and make a giant buzzer game. Okay, so I think my first job will be to mark out where I want my controls and components, and they're going to go toward the end of this piece of scrap timber, and I'll show you, I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. But this is a 9-volt battery holder, so once we're connected up our battery will slide in there. This is the buzzer, and I've got two switches. One is going to be for the buzzer and one is going to be for the LED strip, and this way I can isolate both of those or have them both on at the same time, and it saves any problems with the battery running down while it's not getting used as well. Okay, so I've just added a few more holes in this now just to make it easier to cut out, and I'll get that cut out in a minute, but I just wanted to let you know that this piece of timber was actually getting thrown out, and it must have been a kitchen cabinet door or a bathroom cabinet door, and you can tell because of the recesses in there. It's been some kind of cabinet door. Anyway, it's being recycled now, so I'm doing my bit for the environment. Right, well I've got these cut out and everything's ready to pop in and be screwed down if it needs to be screwed down. However, these don't quite sit in all the way, so that they protrude through the back a little bit more than the depth of the timber itself. So, and I knew about that, but that's why I've got these rubber feet. So these rubber feet, I'm going to turn the board over in a minute, and I'm just going to screw these rubber feet to the back. I've got some small cup holders just to support the inside of this foot here. There's a hole in it, but it needs a washer on it really, so I'm going to use that on the back side. Right, so that's the feet on. I need to put this battery holder in, but I'm not going to do it just yet because I need to extend these leads off the battery, because I'm going to have to make some connections underneath. And likewise, the small switches, once they're in place, I won't be able to solder or attach anything onto these because they're just a little bit too awkward. So I will be soldering some cable onto those as well. Right, the switches have got the cables added onto them now, and an extension on the battery supply. I might have to add some other extensions on, but I'll do that as I go. So it's time to pop these into the board now. So I've screwed the battery holder in place. So we could technically attach that to the battery now, but I'll just put the connection terminal in for now. I'm going to pop that down. There's a little hole inside which you can't see, but that allows it to just pass through quite neatly. And then obviously once the battery is attached, we can close the lid on that. So I'm just going to put a little bit of sealant around the edges, so when the switches go in, they get a nice finish, or a nicer finish, rather than looking at a rough edge. Right, so these little bits and pieces in now, 2 switches, one for the buzzer and one I'm going to use for the LED. Now I haven't put the LED in yet because I'm still not quite sure where I'm going to put the LED, and obviously the battery holder. So I'm going to turn it over and just put a connector block on the other side. So all these cables have got to go somewhere, and this is where the chocky block comes in. I'll take my cables to this, and then I'll take the cables or carry them on out to where I need them to go for carrying a little bit of voltage across the copper tube so that we can get the buzzer to activate and the LED to light up. So now it's time to roll out some of the copper pipe, which is 10mm in diameter, and it's a malleable pipe. It's very easy. It's actually not too bad to roll out flat, and that's why I've chosen the 10mm copper. Okay, so it's time for my first piece of copper to be added to the buzzer game. I'm going to start over here and maybe bring it up and round. I'm not quite sure yet, but I need a hole in this base plate here. My first piece of copper pipe, I really just want to come straight up so that when the wand is on there, that's the starting point, and it will go wherever it goes after that. But to bring it straight up, I'm going to attach a plate to it underneath. I'll drill a hole in there and I'll attach a plate underneath. So that will be my starting point, and I might do the same at the other end to finish it as well. So to make my base plate, I'm going to use a piece of this copper tube, and you can pick this up at the scrapyard. Just go down the scrapyard and just see if they've got any large diameter copper tube. This happens to be 35mm in diameter. And what I'm going to do is I've already marked the pipe. I'm going to measure 35mm this way. That looks more than that. Let's just check. Yeah, 35mm that way. And I'm going to try and flatten it out so that I end up with a square piece. I might cut it in half as well so that I've got one for either end. Right, I've got my start and end point in, so what I have to do next, obviously, is to make the maze by bending some of the 10mm copper pipe into some imaginative shapes. Okay, so the maze is nearly complete. This is the stage I'm up to, and I've confused myself a couple of times bending the pipe and thinking about which way I should bend it, but I think it's challenging enough. And also I could always add to this and make the layout slightly different just by cutting the pipe and adding a couple of bends in or something like that. But all I'm going to do now is connect this final piece up to the end point. I might put a loop in there or something. And that should be most of the maze complete then. Right, I've added a couple of other bits. I've added the last section. There's still one joint to complete just over here, so I'm going to sweat that up in a minute. But I've added some insulation either end to the start and the finish so that the one can come to a rest. So I've just got one piece to put on there, that elbow there, and once that's on, that's the maze pretty much complete, and then we can finish off with just some of the wiring underneath. The next thing we're going to do is put the LED strip on, and that is just going to go on the end there. So it's got an adhesive backing on it, so I'll peel that off, that'll stick on there, and I'll pop the wires through, and that's our LED on there. Right, so this is the final product then. Now, I'll have a little go in a moment, but I'll just make sure that it works by touching the rod on the pipework. As you can see, the light lights up and the buzzer sounds. And incidentally, I might just put some labels on the switches just to say which is the light and which is the buzzer. Not necessary, but it might just add to it. And also, I'll put a spool in just to tidy this cable up once the game's finished. So I'll have a go in a moment, and I'll turn the lights down a little bit as well. Maybe you'll be able to see the light flashing a little bit better. So if you'd like to see any more videos for making stuff or reviewing stuff, then please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.